Yo, whoever made this intro music, I gotta tell you.
This is the McClunky way.
Welcome, Clunky.
Sam doesn't know how to separate audio.
No,
Yeah,
I
he's-
don't. What
So
is
that's why you can hear Joe in the background.
and see, that's what I like about it. It's because that makes it funnier than shit to me when someone says something during the intro. Like Kaz
Oh
last
my
week
God.
on Rural. I don't know if any of you guys caught that, but that was some of the funniest shit.
He sent me the clip. It was great.
Oh, there was a clip. Oh, I forgot someone clipped it. Yeah, fuck yeah.
I love that. I love that Joe's helmet is a little mug.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's adorbs.
I made his like original face, and like all of you guys, I just put a helmet over it. So we'll wait until another show to reveal what his actual face looks like, because you're not supposed to take your goddamn helmets off.
Never.
I'm
This
the
is
only
part
one
of
that
the
has a
creed.
scatter on their helmet.
That has a what around your helmet?
Actually,
The
like
scouter.
I do, but it's hard to see.
I'm the only one that
there's
actually
nothing
owns
there.
their
What are you
helmet.
talking about?
On the top right.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. So what's up? You guys trying
Well,
to fight?
I own you, so.
Oh shit. Anyway, the Mandalorian.
Season
Whew.
3, episode 18, The Mines of Mandalore.
More like the mines that I can't fucking see anything in.
Oh, really?
I couldn't see shit in that episode.
I didn't have that problem with this. I honestly attribute that mostly to like HBO shows whenever we go into dark places. And then this
It's
show,
all
I'm like,
about your TV.
I
I
had
had it on
seen-
the highest brightness.
That's your
what part
problem.
specifically, were, like all of it in the caves? Like you were struggling
Like
to see?
any fucking time they're in the mine, I was like, what am I looking at? Like they're like, oh, here are the waters of Mandalore, and like I couldn't see a damn thing.
I'm not gonna go all home theater nerd on you, but we'll
We've
talk
already
later.
had that discussion. Like I think when we were talking about House of the Dragon.
We can start with this. Turn your brightness down, not up.
Down? Why?
You ever heard of room curtains?
I did. Everything was dark, so I could see everything.
It's weird
I,
because like I'm going through it right now, like trying to find like darkness, and like I have a super bright light.
are you
coming in.
insane? Like,
I'm like seeing it all. I don't know.
So when you turn your brightness up on your TV, especially if you have like a traditional LED panel, all you're doing is washing out the image, especially a darker image. You want to actually drop that down and black out the room as much as you can.
all right, Mandalorian emulates Game of Thrones in the worst way possible in episode 2 of season 3, making it nearly impossible to see the ruined planet of Mandalore or many fight
Really?
scenes that happen there.
People are
That's on
having that
IGN
problem?
right now. Yeah, that's on
Holy
IGN.
I could honestly like the House of the Dragon one was like 1,000 times worse to me, to the point where like until the dragon was lighting up, I was like, I have no idea what the fuck is happening visually right now. This I
Yeah,
was
well,
actually able to decipher things. Like I don't know, it's weird.
I didn't have the issue, but I'm a big home theater nerd.
Yeah, this guy knows his shit apparently.
That House of the Dragons episode, though, was just straight up just poor cinematography. That episode was actually hard to see.
And I don't want to be that guy, but it seems to just be fucking HBO, because even Last of Us won't jump to this a little bit, but like certain dark shots, I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
So what I think it is, and I think I've talked about this a little bit before, is because HBO is kind of, like a premium kind of show service, there's a level of expectation with them that the cinematographers are assuming that you have a display capable of properly showing you what they're trying to show you.
Tell
Well,
them you don't have a 4K display.
Yo, you could have like night episode. You could have like night shows and still like have it well lit. You know?
It's not that it's not well lit. The problem is that if you're utilizing a panel that doesn't have like local dimming or something greater than traditional LED direct lit backlighting, it's just not going to show properly. But
I genuinely
That's neither here nor there.
want to like experience this from like your perspective and the people who had this issue. Like I want to know exactly the scenes that you're like thinking of too, because like I'm trying to like find
Yeah.
it almost, but
It's real simple. Just play the episode again, but close your eyes.
For me, I don't want to like humble brag here, but like on a 4K OLED display, this episode was stunning. Like absolutely stunning. I think this is visually the best looking Star Wars I have ever seen.
You tell me you didn't watch this on your e-ink Kindle? Oh, I thought the show was in monochrome the entire time.
I watched this on my PC screen.
I haven't been able to do that on my PC. I don't know why. Maybe if I take off 1 second. Let me try disconnecting my VPN. Maybe that has something to do with it.
VPN. Let me turn off my VPN. My connection's kind of weird. It's like it's pushing it to a different location or anything.
I thought of that yesterday. I was like, why is it not working on the computer? And I was like, oh, you know what? That might be it.
So right off the rip,
because I'm in California right now.
The visuals in this episode, all of the spaceship scenes in this episode were some of like the most chef kiss moments I've seen in Star Wars. Period.
Yes.
Like approaching Mandalore through the clouds, just like going to Bo-Katan's stupid moon where she's the only person that lives there.
Yep.
Like it just looks so good.
Okay, from my monitor, it looks like I can see it a lot better.
So you just have a bad TV.
I have a really good TV. It's just settings are poor.
It doesn't sound like it's a really good TV.
I'm gonna defend this piece of technology. I don't know.
I love this TV. Okay, I'm gonna defend it anyway.
Had it back since 2002.
I had it since 2 years ago.
But I'll do this off stream. Like I'll tell you guys the best way to get the best picture for this kind of thing when we're not talking about the episode.
then I'd like to follow your right off the rip with my right off the rip. Grogu doing flips, dude. Straight up.
He is such a cute little boy.
I hate him, and I think his flips look stupid.
I think they look a little dumb, but I'm like fine with it. like just visually, they look a little bit wonky, but I kind of like that Star Wars wonk. Like,
yeah, I do too. I can't hate too hard.
Oh, like even last episode, like whenever fucking masked characters, like their lip sync is a little bit off and shit like that. I love that. Like that, all the finicky little Star Wars crap I'm into.
Yeah, I think ever since they did CGI Yoda and they got a crap ton of flack for that, they're like, maybe we should just stick with Puppet Grogu and only CGI the really small parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now he has such cute little like puppet movements.
I love the puppet movements.
Babbles and goo-goos.
I just think that when he does his little flips, it just looks like somebody just like grabbed a little doll by its feet and just yeeted it.
I love that. That's great. That happened. There was a moment in like the first season where he like picks him up, and it's so clear from like the one cut to the other that it's just a stiff little doll that he's now picking up. And it's so funny to me that they don't care about trying to make it look lifelike in certain situations.
Especially in like the first episode when he's shooting IG-11, he just fucking hucks him at like as a doll, obviously.
There's like a 360 in the air like a weird doll would.
Yeah, but that's I thought that was a really fun way to be like, yeah, Grogu's getting really powerful in the Force and whatnot. So I thought that was a good storytelling just by like he does flips now.
Yeah, the flips are neat. Seeing him use the Force to fight, like actively fight, was cool. I think what I liked the most with Grogu, and I really don't like Grogu, was seeing him like actually like getting the payoff of Grogu learning how to navigate the ship.
Yeah, like I think this season's doing a really good thing where it's like setting up things that are already happening. Like I think that like normally in this show, he would be like, I'm gonna go to Mandalore, and then he'd come to Tatooine like we saw, and do like a side mission here for Peli to get like what he needs. But
instead he's been training for 2 years to become a Jedi.
Instead, like now it's like literally just come here, goodbye, you gave me what I needed, let's go.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank God. Like not that I don't like her and like doing stuff on Tatooine, but it just I was worried that we were genuinely gonna stay there and like, hey Boba Fett, like what are you doing right now? And be like, oh fucking hell.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna do that too, especially when he got name dropped.
Yeah, but
I think that's a good thing where like they just name dropped him and they didn't necessarily go any deeper.
We just got out of there. We didn't need to stay. We might go back there sometime this season. I wouldn't doubt it, but like
they're gonna have 2 whole episodes of just Boba Fett.
Probably. That's to make up for that goddamn 2 episodes of Mando, you bastards.
I think on the flip side, the one thing that I didn't really like in this episode, and this is the same complaint I had in the last episode, is I just think it's stupid that Bo-Katan, I guess, now just sits in a room upset all the time. like not doing anything,
It's literally
fully
the
armed,
day-to-day.
like wearing all of her armor, just sitting
What?
for days.
Probably
It's
just
kinda
listening
goofy.
to like MCR the entire time too. You know,
The whole
just
Just sulking,
She's a
miserable.
little whiny little baby.
Yeah, but aside from like her sitting though, I actually really did like her in this episode.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like when she actually like was doing stuff, I was like, "Hey, this is pretty good." Especially like the implications of the ending. Like, what do you think? What do you think her new intentions are? I think she has new intentions.
Honestly, okay, I'll also just like slightly interject here. Do you guys, and I'm the shipper here, so I get it. Do you guys get a vibe between them?
No,
No,
No?
not even a little bit. I think they're gonna
her,
hate each other.
her and
by the end.
Grogu though.
they're gonna see what I think is gonna happen is he's gonna have the dark saber, and she's gonna tame a fucking crate dragon. There you go.
Mythosaur. No, it's
Mythosaur, a crate dragon. Wrong thing. Mythosaur.
I don't think so.
You don't think she's gonna tame Mythosaur?
I think that
The
he's
No way.
taming
Mythosaurs
that
are-
Mythosaur for sure.
I don't
Of
think
course
anybody's
he
taming
would.
a
but,
Mythosaur.
like,
The Mythosaur has already been tamed by the original Mandalore. It no longer needs to be tamed.
yeah, but like that's the thing is like what if she's using that to gain more influence over other Mandalorians?
I don't think so.
No, I feel like that's a lot of effort.
I think Bo-Katan's just gonna get humbled, like big time.
Yeah.
I think that the only arc we're going to see with her is either she's going to start accepting Din's way, and I think we saw some of that in this episode, that she's starting to see that he takes this extremely seriously and that this is the old way of the Mandalore. And I think that like we were seeing it on her face in this episode that even though she doesn't agree with it, she can see how important it is.
yeah,
but
it
I
is
think
still
the
part of the
Mythosaur is-
culture.
Well, 'cause
First of all, the Mythosaur thing, seeing that was like, I literally sat back in my chair and went, holy shit, a fucking Mythosaur.
Yeah, not to like jump on that quickly here, but like, holy fuck, people! Like that was my scream moment of this season for sure, or of this.
Yeah.
Like, I almost feel like it would have been better, and I was saying this before the stream, if somehow these first two episodes were one episode, like we got a longer episode premiere, and this was like a oh my god hype moment for the premiere, because like it was just a random second episode ending that I was like, that's where you dropped this awesome Mythosaur. Like, come on. It was hype as shit seeing that. Holy.
Well, then what do you think the implication of them introducing a Mythosaur right now would be anyway? Because there's got to be a reason for it. It's just not going to be for.
It's absolute. I mean, it's just going to be a thing that pretty much it's the Rancor for Boba, right? It's going to be like
I don't think so. I don't think anyone's writing it.
You don't think
That's what I'm
writing
saying.
it? It absolutely.
That's what I'm
is gonna
saying.
write
Like,
it.
if someone does write, I think it should be Bo-Katan. That way, she has a right to rule just as much as like just Din Djarin has with the Darksaber.
I don't think anybody's writing a Mythosaur, and I don't think we'll ever see it again.
Well, fuck that.
They introduced it for a reason.
Yeah, there is a reason.
Crazy to think that, Richard. I have to say.
no.
The fans are going to be pissed if they don't introduce that Mythosaur again.
I disagree. I think most fans, especially like super fans of Mandalorian culture, would be pissed if they continued on with this Mythosaur route.
I think that the only way that we ever see the Mythosaur again, and this is a little bit of a prediction. Jin's gonna go back to the Creed. He's gonna show them the proof that he bathed in the living waters, and then they're gonna be like, "Oh shit, it's livable there. We're gonna go back to Mandalore," and then we're gonna see Mandalore one more time, maybe two more times in this season, and that's it.
Yeah. So, here's what I think. Right. I think one, they can't show a full Mythosaur. They never have before, and I don't think they will this time. You just can't do that. That's crossing big Star Wars no lines.
Yeah, but they're all about doing
the second
that.
thing. The second thing, and this is why I think it's significant. The Mythosaur was there to show that the story of the Mandalore was real.
Mm-hmm.
That the only reason we see that Mythosaur is to show Bo-Katan that the quote unquote myths of Mandalore taming a Mythosaur are absolute truth, and it's showing Bo-Katan that Din's way might actually have merit.
Wait, are you telling me? Are you telling me right now that some of Star Wars legends could in fact be Star Wars canon?
Yup.
What?
But I do not believe in at all that anyone is going to ride that Mythosaur. I don't think that they'll show it again. I think they intentionally kept it obscured because we've never seen a Mythosaur. They're intentionally supposed to be, mythical. But the idea of someone riding that thing, this thing is like a Game of Thrones style dragon. It's huge. It's not like a Rancor. It's massive.
Yeah, but bitches be riding those dragons. Like, what do you mean?
Ain't nobody riding this thing, dude. I don't think we'll ever see it again.
How much money do you want to put on this, Richard? Because I will literally put money on this.
I don't want to put money on it. Like I can see both sides, but
I will actively
You're
put
making
$50
good
on this
points,
that we will never
but,
see it
like,
again.
I avidly think we're going to see it again, for sure.
Mm-mm. The Mythosaur is just one thing in Star Wars that we just won't see
I would
again.
love it if next episode just opened with the Mythosaur like coming out of the water, like
with like fucking Bo-Katan wrestling it, like
just fucking perfectly, like look at this full lighting Mythosaur right here. I'd be like,
here it is, and she flies away on the Mythosaur.
I think that Din is going to go back to his clan, and he's going to say that he bathed in the living waters of Mandalore, and he's going to bring Bo-Katan with him, and Bo-Katan is going to confirm it by saying that she saw the Mythosaur herself.
And that, okay, but yeah, like I can see that for sure. Like I think that'll be like a pathway that the show takes. I just think that pathway leads to seeing the Mythosaur again. I think that the armor will have like, because I never have good vibes from her. Like I don't know what you guys vibe from her, but I almost feel worse about her than I do Bo-Katan. But
I completely changed my opinion of Bo-Katan after this episode. Now I 100% believe that Bo-Katan is not the prime enemy of this season. That Bo-Katan is going to fall in line with Din's clan. I keep forgetting what they're called. The Children of the Watch.
Children of the Watch.
Yeah.
She's
I thought
going
you
to
were a
fall in
fan of
line
this
with them.
shit. I'm just kidding.
Because she's going to start seeing that their way is the only way that Mandalorians can survive. And I
Their
think that
way
the
is
Mythosaur
the
was
highway.
only shown to show us that she's starting to come around.
I will put $1 on this. I will Venmo you $1 if you're right.
Bet
I-
I'm going to expect
All right,
that dollar.
I can see them showing the Mythosaur again, but not in the way that you want them to. I think that we'll get like another underwater shot of like the chief of the clan just like goes in and is like, holy shit, yep, that's real. Well,
That's
better
a
not mess
Mythosaur.
with it because this is mythical and sacred to our culture. So we got to make sure that we don't fuck with the living waters.
Yeah.
I just think in the same way that Boba Fett tamed the Rancor and it was off screen, I think that there will just be an episode at one point, not this season per se, at one point
Yeah, we had
in
a
this
Rancor.
show. Pardon?
Yeah, we had a Rancor, and that was in the show.
Yeah, but
Why can't we show a
Rancors have
Mythosaur?
always been shown on.
Yeah, but why can't we have a
but-
Mythosaur?
But I just mean that, like, yeah, like at one point we will have an episode, like in a season or two or whatever the fuck, like when it's like you have to become the ruler and like we need something. Bottle episode, tame this fucking Mythosaur. Like, do it.
So I think you guys are looking at it too surface level,
Sorry,
right?
also,
Like-
wait, not to jump in again, Richard, but like, it's,
Damn.
it's like literally also set up in the first episode ever, right? Like, Kuil says to him, like, your ancestors rode the great Mythosaur, like...
Yeah, but that's not new to the Mandalorian. That's
get
always
that, but I just
Mandalorian
mean
lore.
that, like, I think it's set up for Din. I think that he is...
Nope.
If
Not gonna happen.
it is set up at all for anyone, I think it should be Bo-Katan.
I don't think it's going to happen at all. I think the Mythosaur exists as a symbol. It's always been a symbol. It's going to remain as a symbol. We might see it swimming away or something, but nobody's going to ride that damn thing. It's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
if
Aside
we-
from the fact that it would ruin the idea of what a Mythosaur means in Star Wars and for Mandalorian culture. It is also just frankly bad writing to give us another Mandalorian riding another beast.
I think that they
Not gonna
shouldn't
happen.
have done Boba Fett then, if that's the case.
I think
Well,
it makes more
obviously.
sense for Boba Fett to do it.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's the case. Like, sure.
Boba Fett has always shown an affinity for animals, and a Rancor is not some mythical legendary beast.
Yeah, but
It's just
this
a
is like
Rancor.
this is, I don't know, like when the show the Mandalorian comes out, and it's like we're setting up these grand adventures with Baby Yoda and like doing
In the
big
very
shit, like-
first, in the very first episode, I was like, this guy is going to be the new Mandalore.
like
you know,
I feel like that setup is just always been there.
I think he's going to lose the black saber. Honest to God, I feel like
well,
that's.
I
gonna
mean,
be something that
Bo-Katan was
happens.
whooping ass with it. Like, she is way better with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's because she has intention, and
Well, she was also trained with it.
Mm,
She's used it before.
She has used
Yeah.
it before for sure, and I
But-
agree
Go
that
ahead.
she just has more purpose. Yeah, with it.
I mean, it's the rules of the black saber, right? Is explained to us when he takes it back to his creed, and the mother's like, yeah, you got to do it like this. And like if you don't have like the will for it, it senses that and it becomes heavy. And we can still see that to this day that he's quite not sure what he wants to do with that black saber.
Yeah.
Right. I suspect that if he doesn't lose it or give it up willingly to Bo-Katan,
He already
that
tried.
I think realistically what's going to happen is that she's going to help him find purpose with it.
He can't give it up. It's literally against the Mandalorian way to give up the
Right.
dark
Yeah.
saber.
Everywhere he goes, and we've seen this in the last 2 seasons, he goes and is a leader, like born leader. And I just think that eventually, like, if the armor or Bo-Katan want to be the leader, then they will probably fight him on that. Yeah, but like, I just see it. I kind of see what Richard's saying at this point, where I think Bo-Katan is more like, I'm gonna follow him because he is.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what's
She
up.
has to. She has to follow him, or Mandalore is done.
I still think she might. Well, she's done this before, where she is kind of stubborn in that way.
Yeah, she's stubborn, but she's not stupid. She wants the survival of
I
her
mean,
people
she
to
did
be
destroy
advanced.
her entire planet, so
There's a fair argument for that, but I think that Bo-Katan is starting to come around to the idea that the Children of the Watch and Din's determination is the only way to bring her people back. And I think she's been humbled, and she sees now that her way led to people just being scattered even more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, really the only Mandalorians left are the true and adopted Mandalorians that live within these creeds, right? So, like, Death Watch is probably the only one that's like not following the Mandalorian creed at this moment. So she's
I think
like,
it's probably fair to say that there's still other scattered Mandalorians throughout the galaxy.
Yeah.
Unclear right now, right? Because they brought up even in this episode that there's these other moons of Mandalore, and even in Rebels we've seen that Sabine's from like that snowy planet that like
Hoth.
yeah, from Hoth.
Yeah, because I think Mandalore as a culture and as a power is done, but that's what Bo-Katan represents is like Mandalorian culture as like a galactic player, whereas Din and the Children of the Watch represent what Mandalorians mean culturally.
They're as like a nomadic people.
Right. I think we're going to see Bo-Katan fall in line, maybe act as like a sort of like right hand of Din, but I do not see Din becoming Mandalore. I think Din will kind of spiritually kind of hold that mantle, maybe help unite the clans and bring Mandalorians back together. But writing a mythosaur, like, what does that accomplish? What are they going to do? Is it going to be Din and 6 Mandalorians versus the remainder of the Empire?
Yeah, like Thrawn, pretty much. I don't know. That's like
there's no purpose to it. It doesn't do anything.
I get what you're saying, that it doesn't have any like purpose. Yeah, but I just
But
think
it's
that
cool.
narratively with what they're kind of stupidly setting up. I will agree. Like, I think that Star Wars is the thing that, like, since it's like a real universe, you don't have to do these like big event things like how they're setting up Thrawn. I worry that that's like the Disney mentality coming in. Like, we could just, continue the narrative, but I think that it's just we have to build towards this mythosaur fighting something. But
nah.
I think you could do it appropriately. I just think it's like
I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't think Din or the Mandalorians will have anything to do with Thrawn.
I don't think so either.
I think that everything right now is doing a whole setup towards Thrawn being the big bad of. He's like the Defenders show.
For sure. I think there's definitely going to be some tie-ins to like lead towards that route with Ahsoka. But I do think that Din's entire purpose is to show that the Mandalorians are not gone, and he has united them, and that's it.
I still think
Yeah,
Bo-Katan might be the bad guy. There's still a chance there.
I agree too. Like this season's doing a good job of being like, where are we going? But like in a good way, as opposed to what was the show we were bitching about that with?
She-Hulk.
Probably She-Hulk. I guess.
Every Marvel show.
Yeah, where it's like, where the fuck is this even going?
What is
Like,
going
are we doing?
on?
Like, I'm actually like excited to know where we're going, and like every week I'm like, what's happening with Mando?
Yeah, like with She-Hulk is just like, what is even happening in this episode? Is like, whoa, what is happening? Like, where's this going? Like,
Yeah.
Our takes on the Mythosaur on the Mythosaur are interesting. I think it's pretty fun.
I think it's
divided
great
on
that
this.
we were able to spend like 30 minutes just talking about that. Pretty much.
I am not gonna bet money on anything
I'll put a
because
dollar on that.
I could
don't
easily
care.
because I could see both sides where it's just a symbol that's cool, where it's like she's seen what Mandalore needs to be, and I could also see it where Din becoming Mandalore, but
Yeah,
we'll see. It's just a matter
Absolutely,
of we'll
like,
see.
seeing it again. Like I don't know.
for me
I
personally,
think we might
and this
see it
is-
again, but we'll see.
on a very personal level, if they show the mythosaur and it turns out to just be another Star Wars monster with Din riding it, I will be severely disappointed with this show, and
You
I'll
heard it
probably
here
drop
first,
it
folks. You heard it here.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be an abuse of creative liberty,
for sure.
in all honesty.
Well, they've always compared like the Mandalorian to playing with their toys and stuff like that, right? And I just really see that as a big playing with your toy moment.
Ain't no mythosaur toys.
Well, fuck. I mean, there will be.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
I'll
yet.
tell you right now. There's gonna be, Richard.
There's got to be a mythosaur eyeball.
Richard's like, I don't want the lore of this thing to be explained. It's like that's kind of how I felt.
No,
like
that's not my take at all. There is lore on this. It is intentionally surrounded in mystery. It's supposed to be. It's a symbol. It's not a creature.
Guaranteed, like in let's say in 100 years that Star Wars media is still being made and consumed or whatever. Like they're gonna go down like paths that like haven't been answered yet. You know, like they're gonna be like, even in this show, I'm surprised that we haven't been like, let's go find Yoda's planet. You know what I mean? Some shit like that.
Well, that's exactly what I mean. Is I do believe that despite a lot of big dumb decisions on Disney's behalf, there are some things in Star Wars that are sacred and they will not touch. And one of them is like, where did Yoda come from? Another one's going to be, what is a mythosaur?
I think that those things at one point will be answered. Like I think that
I hate that. That to me is on the same level as like making a Batman movie about the specific bat that Batman has on his emblem. It's so stupid. I hate that. Like it's supposed to be a symbol, let it stay a symbol.
Well, wasn't that the one movie with Val Kilmer?
Shut up.
I do want to talk about that sacred rules thing for a second. The moment that you break the sacred rules, you know what that means for the show? It means that it's over. That's why SpongeBob has never gotten his license. This is related. Like, I know it's weird, but the creator of SpongeBob says there's two things that you don't show on SpongeBob. The first thing is that he doesn't get his license. The second thing is that Plankton never gets the recipe.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that. I think there's some things that you just cannot touch, or it begins to like taint the whole thing.
It's over. You just that's like the big finale, the thing that we've been working towards all these seasons. That's it. You know, the moment that we find out I will say this.
That's true, though. I think that the show probably would be ending at around the same time that happens.
I will say this: if you're not reading the Yoda comics right now, that Star Wars is dropping, you're going to miss out on that info, because that's where they're going to release the info about Yoda, because it's not so sacred in that media. It's sacred in this media.
I'm waiting until that becomes a trade, so don't spoil it.
I'm not gonna ruin anything about the Yoda comic. It's a great comic. It's wonderfully designed. It's beautiful. But I will switch.
His name is actually Chaldean, and he's one of the.
I am going to switch gears, though. I want to talk about something that really irked me right at the beginning of this show, and that is Jin making such a big hoopla about this stupid fucking assassin droid, and then within 2 minutes, 2 minutes buys an astromech.
So like
for nothing, effectively.
What was the point then of like making a hubbub about that in the last episode? Like, I don't get that. Like, are we not coming back to IG-11 then? Like, are we?
I think we're going to, but for a different reason. We are, for sure. Just like we're going back to the Mythosaur.
I complained about this in the last episode. I don't understand why they ever needed a droid. Like, he says it in the episode. I'm going to pressurize my helmet real quick. Like, yeah, you can do that.
I mean,
you guys can breathe in space. Just go out of your ship. Just turn your freaking helmet on, dude.
Baby Yoda like a little freaking like glass pod thing that he can see out of or some shit.
He already has. What do you need a droid for? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, to be fair, the Mando suits aren't designed for long-term breathing, right? It's meant for like short excursions, and that's about it. So you got a couple of hours worth. To argue that point, though, could he have gotten down to the living waters in a couple of hours? Probably.
I mean, at the very least, he could have determined whether or not the air was breathable, which it was. Why can't they just do that from space?
Just like the atmosphere. The same reason, like when their communication devices didn't work when they were on the planet, you couldn't shoot like a probing beam, for lack of better terms.
Man, that's dumb.
Yeah, immediately.
Science in my fantasy show? Are you kidding me?
That writing right there, though, where he was like, "Oh yeah, like we can't get any messages off." I was like, oh, "Okay, so like I can tell immediately what's going to go down this episode. You're not going to be able to get a message out. Baby Yoda's going to have to go, and okay, yeah, we figured it out. Like that's
But
that
did you
kind of shit
guys
right there,
think
for
of
sure.
like the biological droid man?
Oh, the Bionicle? Dude, that guy looked exactly like a certain Bionicle. It's insane.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly what I thought.
What did I think about that guy? What did I think?
I thought he was like General Grievous.
Good job asking yourself a question. That
I like, genuinely don't know how to feel about that guy because he was funny, but I don't think it really fits.
I kind of agree. I thought it was really, really, really cool looking.
Yeah, like,
But it didn't feel like Star Wars to me, though.
what am I thinking of from Bionicle?
That is exactly what I knew you guys were going to say. That word, like it looks cool, but it doesn't feel like Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm gonna disagree. I think it fits relatively well in the Star Wars. It's just not the type of Star Wars we expect a lot. If you go back to like Jabba the Hutt's palace, a lot of that technology that guy is wearing is found at Jabba the Hutt's palace. And a lot of people were saying, "Oh, that's General Grievous." It's not General Grievous.
It's not, but it gave me the idea, like, because he breathes like General Grievous.
There was even one of the sound effects that it made was literally just a sped up Grievous
it's a
voice.
rip. Yeah. And then like some people were like, "Oh, it's a Genosian." What the fuck is a Genosian doing on Mandalore? There's nothing in that lore.
Underground.
And he literally doesn't even have like we have one feature to identify this thing by it, and it's a humanoid eye. If you look at Genosian features, they don't fucking have that.
Yeah. I do love that it like I just think it was neat the way it could like.
I just think they're neat.
It was like multiple layers of like mech, where it was like it was riding around in like a humanoid body, and then it could like jump into
That's
a
a
big
fucking
crab body.
Robo Beetle, baby.
I thought
Yeah, it was really neat.
I thought that was
Yeah,
cool
it was
as
sick,
hell.
man. I really liked it. I think that its design was a little bit more
Rock-shi
reminiscent of like
the Paraka. There we go.
No, it's the Rock-shi. You that Paraka? Let's see.
its
I got
design
Baraka
felt
from this, man.
really, really Warhammer 40K to me, and not Star Wars. But I still loved it.
I thought the
Oh, I can see where the rock shit come from. So we're talking about something completely different right now.
Sorry, yeah, because this guy gave me mad Bionicle vibes, like straight up.
Like a mixture between Paraka and Rakshi, I can see.
Actually, even in the fact that like what we're saying, like he could separate his own body parts and just go into other body parts, much like a Bionicle really could. Like, what if there's some Bionicle inspiration?
Like Dave Filoni was like spent an hour looking at like his Bionicle collection and be like, I got it.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm almost positive that this guy is like a scientist of some sort, either on the Mandalorian side or the Empire side, that got caught in the rubble and whatnot, and like used whatever medical tools he had to like get him back together, and to survive. And then like that's his motivation. I don't think that this is a very significant. Like it's not like.
And now
you
very
have
specific notable
created
character that died on Mandalore.
A big backstory for a character we are never going to get more on.
No, see, now in the future, Din is going to have to resurrect this guy in order to add him to his crew, because he's going to need it for a mission.
You say that, but fuck, you're totally right, bro.
Wikipedia is being updated as we speak.
Yeah, it's going to use those parts to bring back,
IG-11, yeah, exactly, fuck!
Finally, I got it. IG-11's car. What the fuck is up with IG-11? Just piss off about it.
To be fair, though, Mandalore's ruins would definitely have salvageable assassin droid chips there,
Oh, yeah,
all
probably.
things considered.
So, okay. Here's a little bit of I'm gonna nerd out.
Okay.
So, ancient Mandalorian history. And I don't know if this is canon in current Star Wars. This is legend stuff.
I'll let you know.
But so in ancient Mandalorian history, they conquered this sort of race of like cybernetic what's the word I'm looking for? Like droid monsters, kind of like the Gek from Mass Effect.
Yeah.
And like Mandalore would ride these things into battle. And I wonder if this thing was like a sort of nod to that.
I'm going to say that's definitely Legends. Simply because if you go back and you watch the Star Wars, the Clone Wars animation, you know, we see like soldiers and whatnot. You don't see any mounted people. Like they all use jetpacks now.
Yeah.
And even if they're like working in the mines, I do believe we get like an episode or two with Obi-Wan and Bo-Katan's sister, whose name skips
Satine.
my brain.
Satine.
Yeah. Down in the mines for a little bit, and you don't see like any of the workers down there. They just have droids, or they have people that work the mines. I don't think that they've done that, especially since like the native people or the native creatures on there are the Alamites, which have never been shown in Star Wars before.
Oh, the ones that they were beating the shit out of in this episode.
Yeah, the predator-looking
I
motherfuckers.
loved that, honestly, because like I liked when they first showed up. I was like, "Who the fuck are these guys?" Like, they don't. I don't remember hearing about these at all in past Mandalorian things. And then I like that they did give the answer in this. Like, Bo-Katan was like, "Okay, yeah, these are like cave people that like would only be on the outskirts, but now since everything's rubble, they're everywhere." I like that.
They lived out in the wastelands. So I think the current, I'm going to say meta, because brain dumb, is that these creatures are like the indigenous kind, and those were the ones that were kind of just pushed away and ignored.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't necessarily think that like what we saw like they're called basilisk war droids. I don't think it necessarily was that, but I do wonder if maybe it was like a little nod to it, you know, like this giant war droid being underneath the surface of Mandalore. It kind of tracks.
The first thing I looked up is like just Mandalorian robot. And they said the successor to General Grievous. Well, I don't know about that, but like,
it's very short-lived.
Yeah. No, he's gonna come back.
To be fair, he did kind of look like part of that thing with the prod that he had. It kind of like, you know, the two Magnum droids or whatever the fuck they're called. My brain's doing a dumb here.
Yeah, the guards.
But like, the guards. Yeah, they had those fucking pulse staffs or whatever. My brain is sucking today. But I was like, oh, okay, I can see all this, but he didn't do like anything cool. He's just had basic spear experience, and that was it.
The basilisk war droids were created by basiliskans, which were just lizard dudes. But I don't know. I'm 100% going way too deep into a rabbit hole here, thinking that maybe this is like an ancient basiliskan underneath the surface of Mandalore.
That doesn't exactly
Star Wars, because
that doesn't exactly track though with the human
of course
eye.
Not at all.
I find it weird when like they have like things that are like only like an Earth thing. Like, what the fuck's a basilisk to Star Wars? You know?
Yeah, it's
it's
a
Komodo dragon,
an intelligent lizard species native to the planet Basilisk in the core world's region of the galaxy.
Apparently, yeah.
There you go.
We all can relate, you know.
They went to war with the Mandalorians, and the Basiliskans chemically poisoned their own planet in a last-ditch effort to defeat their conquerors. After the war, the Mandalorians found a new use for the Basiliskans. With their tough hides, large claws, and intelligence, the Mandalorians enslaved them and used them as mounts for aerial and ground fighting during later wars against the new Sith Wars. And then they took their droids as well.
Yeah.
But this is all like Legends, Mandalorian, ancient history, like Neo-Crusader era Mandalorians. So that's like
we've been lucky enough that they've held on to at least like the first Mandalorian war. They might have altered it a bit with the lore, but they're like, yeah, that war definitely happened, and they definitely had fights with Jedi and with Sith. And so it's nice that they're keeping some of the lore and like making sense for these Mandalorians. But I don't think it's anything extremely deep. I'm almost 100% positive that this guy is just a remnant from the bombing, and he found a way to survive.
I do think that when it comes to like Mandalorian lore, they literally only have legends. That's it. There is no Mandalorian lore within Star Wars cinematically. All they can pull from is legends. So, and they have been like confirming that Jango was in fact Mandalorian and that he worked or he was a foundling under the clan that he was. That's straight from
name
Legends.
dropped the actual guy. Like, I can't remember his name, but like Jodo Creel or something.
Jaster Reel.
Jaster, yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So they're pulling a bunch of stuff from Legends for sure from Mandalorian, which is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, especially they have to with the Mandalorian stuff. I mean, they can make their own lore, which they have done. But if they're gonna pull anything, it's got to come from Legends. They don't have anything else to back up on when it comes to Mandalorian stuff, and I don't think that Disney has the balls to change it too much, because when it comes to Mandalorian stuff, this is what fans love.
Yeah,
it's not like the Jedi stuff where there's this massive amount of shit you can pull from. You just have the Mandalorian stuff that we've already got, and like I've said this, I've talked about this a lot, but like Din's entire story arc is literally just Boba Fett's story arc from the comics and the old books.
Yeah,
it's
why I
literally
think
the same thing.
Mandalore.
I think so too, just not in the same way. I don't think it's going to be in a manner that's consequential for anyone.
Yeah, I will say, have you read any of the new Bounty Hunters comics from like 2016 on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like up to date on them. I'm a few trades behind.
Yeah, so they've altered. Obviously, they altered Boba Fett's timeline,
right,
and to make sense for the Mando and stuff. But it's a good series. If you're looking in the comics for Star Wars, I definitely recommend the Yoda one. I recommend
any Darth Vader run.
Boba Fett, Darth Vader's good for lore, but specifically for things to make sense, I recommend those two in particular.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. Like what that Disney's doing is where they're making lore in the movies and then having the comics like add things to make that lore make more sense, and then the movies go back and just completely ignore the comics entirely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that they've actually learned from this, and I'm of the mind that The Mandalorian is now the flagship franchise of Star Wars. And they have to do this right, and they know it.
Yeah.
Well, especially with Acolyte writing on the horizon, if they mess this up, Acolyte's probably going to get trashed.
Yeah, completely dead in the water.
I'm excited for that show generally.
Yeah, the High Republic, that shit's going to be so dope.
Yeah.
And with the High Republic we're going to see a whole new type of Mandalore if they show it.
Yeah,
sure. Absolutely.
It's going to be like a whole new like avenue for storytelling that they could do.
High Republic would be like Crusader era Mandalorians. They're very, very different than.
Yeah, most people would be following the creed without actually calling it like a creed. You know, that New Age Mandalorian the New Age Mandalorian culture that we see in the Clone Wars animation is a relatively new way that they started to adopt.
Right. Anyway, this episode was great. I really
have to
like
rewatch
this episode.
it on my computer in order to.
If for nothing else, the fact that we can have a conversation like this about it it suggests that like we liked it.
Yeah,
it raises a lot of questions.
The Bo-Katan stuff I really liked because like I like getting her perspective on a lot of these things, and then obviously the Mythosaur, like that was a fucking highlight for me. But
that was great, and I always I can't help but point out whenever Dave Filoni gets his opportunity to make one of his strong, independent female characters fight something big and scary.
Yeah,
he does it a lot.
I had another thing that bothered me in this episode. Because I didn't want to be contrarian, but I also like had to look at this like what part of this story is kind of just nullified by another part of the story, either earlier on or later on. So the robot deal was one of them. My second one was like, where the hell was Jin and Grogu going when they went down that center pipe? And what does that pathway that they found before he gets caught go to? Because like they were supposed to be going to the living waters
city
that
down
way.
There, so they could have gone anywhere.
Yeah. So like they were definitely in an underground, but it wasn't like to the living waters. And then Bo-Katan's like, yeah, there's the door. It's the biggest fucking door in all of the ruins. Like, why didn't they? And they walked what 5 minutes?
It's
like safely.
Vagina on the
they walked 5 minutes in TV land, but in their time it was probably hours.
I suspect that was some movie magic kind of stuff.
I suppose so, but like also, I'm curious now. What's down that pathway? You know, if they were to go down another one, I doubt it. But it was like, oh great, you guys completely just like nullified the whole point of him going down there. I'm like, I think a little. Mandalorians normally they scout the area before they do something, and I get it. Like he's
That's
just
why he had the droid.
Yeah,
wants to play
sure.
with the droid, but that's why he's there to scout.
Literally, we just brought in it's R5, right?
R5.
R5D4.
Yeah.
I thought we brought in R5 just to kill him again, pretty much. And I was like, well, that's a fucking
I did
bummer.
think that too.
I mean,
God,
practically
he's
is what
alive.
happened.
I think that Din and Grogu were literally just wandering aimlessly through the ruins of an ancient city or
Yeah,
an old
Like,
city.
these two were planning on wandering
and-
for days. Just
They
to
had
find
no
this water.
idea where they were going, and if they didn't get Bo-Katan, then they would have never found the thing.
But I'm just saying, it's a big ass fucking door up against the wall of the ruins. Like, you could have just looked across the way. It's like, oh, that looks like a big ass fucking door.
Yeah, but I mean, it'd be kind of like if somebody just dumped you somewhere in like a random area in New York City and you'd never been there, and they were like, all right, go to Times Square. You know? You'd have a hard time finding it.
I suppose so, but he also managed to find the ruins of like the city that has the entrance.
Very true. Yeah, he found that instantly. So
from
what the hell?
from top level without any scanning whatsoever. He goes right here.
Well,
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
I
didn't
genuinely
even think
believe
about
that
that.
Star Wars planets are like on a scale like way smaller than we even understand for like.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Because my example is always in The Force Awakens when they launch Starkiller Base, they destroy entire system, but you could apparently see it from a whole nother system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
True.
Like I think that they showed the scale of the Death Star beside the moon and the way that it, or even Starkiller Base beside the moon, and Starkiller Base isn't even as big as our moon, so I think that planets are just smaller. Like they're like little countries out there, pretty much.
So Pluto is a moon. That's what you're trying to get at.
Yes.
Is that Pluto is a moon?
The sun's
or is-
moon.
I think that the cosmos just doesn't make sense in Star Wars.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But yeah, that was another thing that bothered me. They set up Mandalorian has a really good way of telling stories, but sometimes you could see that there wasn't a thought process, or at least a fully thought out one. You're like, we'll give it like 1 minute, and then we'll have the solution for it. I'm like, that's not particularly good writing. But
Yeah, and my biggest nitpick has been the helmet situation, where it's like, so you can pressurize the helmet, so you can breathe in the helmet, you can go underwater in the helmet. But the first time we see Din go underwater with the helmet, he's drowning.
he didn't pressurize it beforehand, right? He was removing all of his
stupid. But then when we hear the
stripping
foundling get their helmet put on for the very first time, it instantly pressurizes.
Yeah, I don't know. I
So-
don't get that one.
There's some serious inconsistency with the helmets, and I don't care. I get it, but it's. I would just prefer that, like, if they're gonna play that game, then just make none of the helmets pressurized or make them all pressurized. Don't turn it on and off.
It's kind of like your phone, right? Sometimes you have auto notifications, and then you can send notifications to manual, or you can turn them off.
Yeah, sure, but
You know.
it's hard for me to believe that a helmet can be pressurized when you can see a child's hair coming from the back of it.
Yeah, like,
You
it's
know what I
clearly
mean?
not airtight.
It is obviously not pressurized. Also,
But-
I do have to ask this: like, did Din get pulled into the water,
Okay,
or did
No.
he
thank
just
you,
drop?
Richard. Thank you. Okay, that's
No.
exactly where I wanted to jump after this, because I hate that kind of shit in movies where, like, this mythosaur is, like, gigantic, right? So if the implication is that it pulled him down, how the fuck did not...
Like, I always find it weird in movies and shows where they have him, like, he's in, like, ankle deep water, and then suddenly he's just gone, you know?
I thought
That's
it's
the
funny
thing
if,
is-
like, his helmet is so fucking like Beskar is so heavy that in the water he slipped and just went all the
He
way
just
No,
down.
went
that's-
straight to the
that's-
bottom.
That's exactly what happened. Because
Yeah, I think that's the case.
Really?
Yeah,
Like,
so
fuck, that was not
the
like
planet-
implied to me.
the planet got fucking nuked, so the internal cavern systems, like, obviously are going to collapse. I mean, we see that when he's walking through the initial mine area where you see pipes and rocks falling and areas blocked. A mythosaur lives in these waters. There's going to be hidden underwater caverns, and when she goes down there, you can see like rocks and shit like on the floor bed of that lake. I'm going to say the cavern lake, and like, oh, okay, yeah. So the man, number one, has never been there before. He's just assuming that he can take a good couple steps and he's good. And Beskar is literally one of the strongest materials and most coveted materials in the galaxy. It's going to be fucking heavy. I mean, we see it like when people are wearing this, like, oh yeah, this is kind of heavy. And then he
Yeah.
takes 3 steps, not knowing. He just fucking sinks.
So I believe that he sank. I do. Where I have a hard time suspending my disbelief is that he sank 500 meters in 5 seconds.
Yeah, she's using her jetpack and doesn't make it that fast.
Like, it doesn't add up how quickly he sank and how he sank at what seems to be like an angle.
Yeah,
Like
if she wants to catch up to him, turn off your jetpack. You'll apparently
she had to jetpack into the water at like an
angle.
arc.
Yeah, no, I just saw it there. She goes over like this crest. There's low. The ground under where he was is like horizontal, and then it dips into the huge area that he's in for sure.
I think the implication is that he was pulled under, but I think it's dumb.
I don't think he was pulled under, and I know he wasn't pulled under because when we see the mythosaur, what the fuck is he doing? He's taking a goddamn nap.
Yeah, he's
hanging
chilling.
out. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
I know,
think
but like
this
that's
is badly done. It's what that is.
It's just weirdly done. Like if
I don't think
fall,
it was
then like
pulled. I just think that it was kind of handled weirdly.
yeah.
Well,
Like he fell disproportionately fast to like the time that passed.
yeah, I'm not disagreeing there, but to help with the reality of this fantasy show, right? It's not like a straight down wall in there. Like it obviously there was
There's
a drop, but then
currents in
there's
water.
like there's currents in the water, and then like the wall, the sides of the wall, you can see the rocks. So number one, he was passed out. So how did he pass out? Probably fucking hit his head, and that's what like altered trajectories in the water and shit.
Got big donked.
But if he got
The mythosaur
like,
sneezed and pushed him away.
if he got hit in the head, then why did his helmet stay on? Like, it comes up with all these
It's sealed.
contingencies. But it wasn't.
I think it's just it's goofy TV show stuff that I don't want to dwell on too much because it's not that big of a deal.
This is
but-
definitely
Funny as fuck
something.
to dwell on it though. in all
This is
honesty.
definitely something where you can live happily in the ignorance of not knowing exactly what happened. But he didn't get pulled under. He definitely just took a couple steps and made an oopsie.
Took a tumble.
I do think
Hold
that.
up, is there like a way to like get like a description on this episode? Like, how do you get like audio like, for blind people or whatever? Like, how do you where they're like, this is what's happening? Because it would be like
Closed captioning?
yeah, whatever the fuck it is, right? No, but that's for
That's for deaf
that's
people.
for deaf people. No, we need the
Blind people can't read what's on the TV.
Where's
but
my
there's
Braille
the one
TV
where,
at?
Like it'll like say next to it, like it'll be like, this is what's happening on the screen.
I have no idea.
Like that's how the Dark Troopers in the last season were like revealed because it said it. Like it didn't even say it in like. It
Those
was
Dark Troopers.
So that normally comes out about anywhere from a week to a couple of months after because they have to like actually record that with the script.
Right.
I thought they
and-
released that right with it. Okay.
No way.
No, people don't give a shit about blind
Yeah,
people.
apparently the blind people can go fuck themselves. Like that's
Not to
poor
be
guys.
ableist, but I don't think Disney cares.
Yeah, I don't think Disney is really lining up their assets to make sure that blind people can watch TV.
I mean, I feel like there'd be a hubbub about that if that's the case. Like, isn't that kind of what you're trying to avoid a lot of the time?
It's not like they're ignoring it. They're definitely putting it out there, but you don't subscribe to any services that require that, number one. So, like, you're not going to find it on the Disney, like, you're not going to find it on Disney Plus. It just doesn't exist. And half the time, just kind of hearing people talk on TV gives you enough context anyway for, like, what's going on.
Hold the fudge up. I'm finding this out.
I mean,
I,
go for it.
I do like the line that Din had in this episode where right before he stepped into the waters where he tells Bo-Katan, who was criticizing the Children of the Watch for being, fanatical, when he points out that their way is the only way that, or the only reason that Mandalore culture has survived.
Yep.
And I think that was the beginning of the kind of turning point of Bo-Katan realizing like, oh shit, is he right?
I think this is a good. I think this is a good dichotomy, right? That's a $5 word for anybody who wants it.
Ooh, look at you.
We have the old Mandalorian way, which is Jin, and we've got the new Mandalorian way, which is Bo-Katan. And this is really nice because it's showing the unity between the two cultures, even though it's technically the same culture. And like we were saying earlier, I think that's going to be a big part of that is the unity of two cultures, either one side making a compromise or both sides making the compromise.
Right. Chat, Nolan, Alice, Coco, we see you. Thank you guys for showing up. Happy birthday, Coco. We appreciate you guys. We can't always respond to chat because we're locked in conversation.
And also, like, I have it kind of here. The audio, it's audio English audio description. So it is up already. And
Swing.
I'm going to listen to it as I'm going to put it up live. Like we're going to maybe get flagged. I don't
This
know.
guy.
We'll see. But I'm going to see what it says.
What are we listening for? For what?
Like specifically, if it
He
says,
wants to know if he gets pulled or if he falls.
I just want to know if they specify specifically like what they think happened.
Let's see.
And the words of the creed.
All
right.
Are we going to hear it, or
You're not going to hear it.
so we're just going to sit here in silence and wait for
Okay,
you?
so it says you'll hear it in the stream, but it's just said pretty much she suddenly sinks. So it pretty much is implied, yeah, like that maybe
he fell.
Yeah.
He fell. And the water.
What? The closed
Like an
captions
idiot.
again. Din made an oopsie and he fell.
Yeah.
Right, honestly, if they were that funny.
What
I
you
think,
should do. Go ahead.
I think even if Den were pulled, it wouldn't have been by the Mythosaur. The Mythosaur is so impossibly huge that Den would fit in the palm of its hand.
But
It's
the thing
not
is that, like,
pulling
I
him
think
anywhere.
that they do that shit in movies all the fucking time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like there's no way the big thing grabs you where it grabs you, but it's like, oh, we're just gonna whisk that away with movie magic. You know what I mean? Like,
I just don't see the Mythosaur.
Star Wars
yanking
is pretty good about
yanking a random dude underwater and then taking a little napsy.
I don't know, man. The Dianoga is sitting in like ankle deep water, and it's like a big thing.
Well, it just looks like ankle deep water because you're looking at it from the surface, but it is in fact a beach, right?
I mean, it's in a garbage disposal.
You know. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the fucking creature from the first episode that hops out of the water.
The
and
dragon turtle. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
that thing.
that's my bad. I was like, that's a beach, my guy. That's the ocean.
Yeah, that makes more sense. That whole thing where it's like coming up out of the water and it looks like okay, it's there.
But Sam, what you should do, since you've got the audio English thing, you should go back and see if it tells you who that robot character is, if it gives it a name.
You know, I don't think it'll probably just say weird robot man.
What
And Greg
if it
shows
straight up says like Ed Grievous shows up?
And here's Bill.
Okay, do I want to get it when like the robot like comes out of like when it comes out of the back of the big one?
I think that would
Yeah.
be the best thing.
Okay, let's find that.
And then it's revealed that General Grievous shows up.
Okay, right
It's
here,
not
right here.
General
We got it.
Grievous.
We got it. Hold up.
Of tubing that feed into its back from a regulator box on its chest.
Holy fuck, they go into detail. like a creature with tubing.
Oh, okay.
Going into
It's
its chest.
just a creature then. Yeah, I think that dude was just a little throwaway guy, but it was just a really cool design.
It was crazy.
really
I
neat
like
design.
I like throwaway guys though, and in fact, a lot of Star Wars Legends is based on throwaway guys.
I like
so-
True
throwing away
that.
people.
True that.
Oh yeah, that's why I was saying like as you were talking about it, Joe. Like they're up. Someone's updating Wikipedia right now with like as much lore as possible on this little one-off creature.
This also
Like
reminded me of
his
Nine.
name is going to be like Binjin Sobi, and he's actually an 800-year-old Mandalorian scientist trapped in the body of a droid who has to pull the biological juices from the remaining sentient creatures on Mandalore
He's
to survive.
Can I piss you guys off? Can I piss you guys off? It's on the same level of that. What if this is actually like one of like Palpatine's like failed clones that he just kind of dropped off there?
He just dumped it on Mandalore.
They're like, fuck it.
I mean, they had a whole random ass planet with like a fuck ton of clones, and like you don't know how many he's put out into the world. Like it's like considering Star Wars and what Disney's done with it, it's not off the charts of possibility.
Whoa, sorry. When
okay.
you say he has a planet with a fuck ton of clones, sorry, what are you talking about?
The last movie?
Those are all clones. Those are just a bunch of like Sith like acolytes. or whatever
No,
you wanna call
but
them.
you see the tubes with his clones in
those
there.
were clones, dude. He had
Oh,
hundreds
you
of
mean
them.
Snokes. Oh, you mean the Snokes? Oh yeah, okay.
Well, but Snokes are just like the thing, but they're his form that we see, like he's perfecting like shit. Like that's why he wanted Rey, that way he could make the perfect clone again, because she had good DNA or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Is that
But-
really what? I don't know if that's clear because it really sounded like in the movie the setup was kill me and I will go into your body. Like that is what it sounded like they were setting up.
It was. It's dumb. I don't want to talk about
It's
those
like
movies in
the people who
great
wrote
detail.
the people who wrote that movie thought that when Luke or when Emperor Palpatine was like, "Yo, like kill me, Luke," they thought that he meant that because he would transfer himself into Luke or some shit. Like, is that what you fucking thought? Like,
I didn't get that. I don't think that I got the impression that Palpatine was trying to imbice Rey. I think that
a lot of
he
people think
wanted
that.
her DNA. But I
think-
also think that movie is fucking stupid. So who
He
cares?
literally is saying, "Strike me down." He's literally asking her to kill him.
So it's
yeah,
not.
Obi-Wan says that too, though.
It's not in Bison in the fact like he actually possesses her body. Sith don't do that. The Force doesn't fucking do that. It's never done
No, but
that.
that's what I'm
right?
saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like the writers think that like that's what it does.
No, what the intention was there is that when Rey were to give in to hate and kill out of hatred, she would become the Sith leader.
Right.
She-
and
it-
she would then have all the power of all the
Yeah.
different Sith Lords that were present in that moment.
Yeah.
That's the impression that I got from it.
I'm just saying that there's a huge.
But that movie also sucked.
Yeah, that movie sucks dick, and I'm thinking, or at least a lot of people came out of that movie thinking, do they know what the fuck they're talking about? Because
I mean, unquestionably, no.
like
But
that was such an oversight that like it was just so messy. There was
they
too much
found
room
they
for,
found
like,
Palpatine with a goddamn dagger compass.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that movie's stupid and it
And
shouldn't be taken
carves the
seriously.
exact shape of the remains.
the specific
of the Death
remains of the
Star.
Death Star where it would have definitely moved in the ocean at one point and like shifted position. Over the
Even though
course
it's an
of
ancient
30
Sith dagger,
over the like what the
yeah,
fuck?
it doesn't make sense at all. So we can without a doubt accept that movie does indeed have questionable at best writing.
Listen.
I was so checked out when he fucking did that electric shock to the sky. I was like, dude, this is so bad. Holy fuck.
Listen, all they were doing was they were making a parallel to Captain Jack Sparrow and his compass, right? Because it's all Disney.
It's all related. We're gonna
yeah.
see.
That's
Sith
why
Lord
Ray
Jack
was
Sparrow.
walking like she was drunk.
Exactly. It's all
Okay,
coming
so-
together.
Here's my long form prediction. All right, because I don't have anything else to say about this episode. This will kind of tie back in what we've all been kind of saying in a roundabout way. I've said before that I think that The Mandalorian is Star Wars flagship right now, and that everything that they are doing with this show is not to set up. It's not to progress like Din or Grogu's story into existing storylines. I believe that the reason why we have Grogu, who ages very slowly, and the reason why we have Din setting up Grogu to be a Mandalorian is to set up the future of Star Wars, like hundreds of years down the line.
Mhm.
And I suspect that what we'll get is when Din's story is over, it's just going to be Din and Bo-Katan and the rest of the Mandalorians united, maybe going back to Mandalore with Grogu. Then Star Wars will do their thing. There's going to be a couple of new shows. You know, we're going to move on from there. Years down the road, in our time, we're going to get a new Star Wars. And it's going to be a new Star Wars that takes place maybe hundreds of years in the future. And we're going to get old Grogu, who is a Mandalorian. And the future of Star Wars is not Jedis and Sith. It's Mandalorians brought about by what Din did. And maybe then we'll get to see an image of like Din riding a mythosaur or something. But it's not going to happen in this show.
I do like the idea of that, like hundreds of years into the future thing for sure. But like, I also would, and I know this is probably an unpopular opinion, I'd like to see Rey's order a little bit. Like, I feel like there are a bunch of characters in the lore right now that could be in that we've.
I hope
set
they
up.
completely remove that forever.
I would
Yeah.
like to see it.
The idea
Okay,
of Rey starting a Jedi Order is so gross to me. We've already done that with Luke, and it didn't work.
But
Can we just get past that? I would much
have,
rather
like, the
see
new Jedi in this-
Mandalorians with a dark saber embracing a kind of culture combination of Mandalorian and Jedi culture.
I'd
where
like
they
to see,
become
like, where
one
it's, like,
thing.
20 years into it or something like that. Where like
No, we have like the new Jedi that are trained by Rey, and they're just swinging it like a baseball bat.
I hate that shit so much.
I think it's more
fights in
realistic
the
that
new
we'll get a
trilogy
future
suck.
Star Wars where we have Mandalorian soldiers who have their own culture, who are all wielding something similar to lightsabers.
Yeah.
And the
I
idea
think
of
that
Sith and
kind of
Jedi are
thing,
done
like-
forever.
that, like, to an extent that, like, the Sith for sure are, like, I don't know if that'll ever happen, though. I think that there's... I
don't
like
think
that writing themselves into a corner, even in the original thing, where they're like, "Oh, that's all of the evil. Like, we did it. We balanced the Force." I'm like, "Don't say that, because now you can't."
Well,
I don't think
that
Star Wars is ever gonna get rid of Jedi.
Yeah,
I think that they absolutely will, but they'll replace the concept with just Force users.
That'd be a good
Like
idea.
the Jedi and Sith are done, but what we'll get are like Mandalorian soldiers wielding sort of like newer lightsabers. Some of them maybe even wielding the Force.
Yeah.
And the Force will be much more widespread throughout the galaxy, which is what we saw in the new trilogy. We saw that it was actually a thing that was happening.
I don't give a shit. I just want that one Vision Star
Broom
Wars
Kid? I
episode
want
to
Broom
become
Kid.
true, where it was like
Broom Kid, yeah.
where it was like your lightsaber is just determined by your vibe, and then
That was really
the Nine
cool.
Jedi.
That was
The
really
Nine-
yeah, that Ninth Jedi one was fucking awesome.
That was so good.
That was like the
Yeah.
best one in that whole thing, easily for me.
I'm putting on my tinfoil hat, but this is, in my mind, this is the only way Star Wars can progress past those awful movies, is to take the little bits out of them that worked, like the Force spreading, that anybody can wield the Force. Take
Like a
those
disease.
concepts, pull those out, and combine them with the stuff that we've set up in The Mandalorian, with Grogu being a Mandalorian Jedi. That's a thing, right? And then we
A Jedi
go to the
Lorian.
future. Go
Why
to the
is that
future because
concept
Grogu
so,
can
like,
live.
So like weird to people though, because that's literally what the Jedi were doing for like thousands of years.
What is?
Just
What do you mean?
finding,
What do you mean?
like random kids that were like, "Oh, you're Force sensitive. Like, let's bring you into the fold." Like that's
Yeah, well, like
random
that's
people
what
get the Force.
that's
So-
what like the trailer or like the new trilogy was all about. It was like, oh, you need to have the fucking Palpatine's bloodline in order to have
It's like
the Force.
fuck the bloodline shit. I hate that.
Just have her be a rando, dude.
So the thing is, right, with the Jedi finding the Force, there's always been a dedicated person who finds these kids through
Right.
the Force and then puts it in the holocrons, right? It's always been like one person, and that person gets an apprentice and then trains them. That's a very specific Jedi training. And that's why the Sith are always after the holocrons, because they don't have that ability. The Force is too clouded for them, which is why they're always focused on the here and now.
And I think it stands to reason that without the Jedi Order existing anymore, the Force is now widespread and unchecked. And so you're
Mhm.
going to have people out there with Force capabilities that don't know how to use them properly, and no one's finding them. So the future is going to be just random Force people, Force
The new
sensitive people
Jedi.
all over the place.
I think
Well,
it's too much
well, they've
faith. They're
already
gonna
covered
definitely be like,
that
the
too.
new Jedi coming.
Like that person that is getting all these Force sensitive kids in a list, like they are obviously missing people all the time, right? Because like they cover a lot in the universe, that there are people who are slightly Force sensitive, but they just use it in a different way, like smugglers and certain people like that, where it's like they're using the Force, but it's not.
Yeah, like what about like the Witches of Dathomir?
You can
so-
Sure.
you can thank episode 1 for that. It was episode 1 that proved that everybody is Force sensitive. Do you remember how?
Midichlorians.
Midichlorians?
Midichlorians, and there's a way to
Yeah.
test for them. You test your blood sugar.
With the Gillette razor.
I think that the only way Star Wars is going to be able to progress is if they keep some of the lore intact, but they go a wildly different route. And one of the takeaways that I got from the new trilogy is that the future is very Force sensitive and in a much more powerful way than what we've seen previously. Like that kid pulling a broom, that is unlike anything we've ever seen any Force sensitive person do.
I mean,
Okay.
Do you remember
Mickey
how hard
Mouse-
it was for Luke
Disney's
to just pull his
Fantasia.
lightsaber out of the ground?
Oh no, Ray did it pretty easily apparently.
I think
Yeah,
that
well,
also,
this is my point. So we see how insanely powerful Rey is with almost no training. We see a child force pull a broom, something that Luke had to train for weeks to do. What we're seeing is a much more powerful spread of the Force that's acting in different ways than what we're used to, and maybe that was unintentional the way that they wrote it.
I was about to say, yeah. I feel like
I
that's
probably- I
honestly
absolutely do believe that,
unintentional, and I like.
but
what
I
you're
think-
saying, but
I think they're going to have to lean into that though.
or maybe not, right? Because the first movie is actually called The Force Awakens, and I felt like when I watched the movie, the whole thing around The Force Awakens, I was like, I hate this name. This name of the movie sucks because it
If
implies
there's one thing I've
that
learned,
the Force has been asleep for like 30 years or some shit, and now it is awakening for this movie. But like, why? And they
Yeah.
never really cover that.
Well,
But like, if there's one thing I learned about Disney with Star Wars, that everything you think or like hope would happen is not going to happen at all. That's so your Mandalorian is probably not going to happen, Richard.
I'm not going to touch on that bit. I want to talk about the Force Awakening, the Force itself, not the movie. We've already been told that the Force evolves and that the Force is living, right?
Yeah.
We've been shown that multiple times, specifically through the Clone Wars animation. How the Force is ever changing and always getting stronger and allowing people to do more things, which is why the next generation of Force users are always better than the previous generation. We see that with Qui-Gon Jinn and Anakin Skywalker, right? We see that with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. It's just something that happens. I wouldn't be so far surprised that in Richard's scenario, we go a couple hundred years in the future, everybody is using the Force, like just for like super mundane things. And then there's going to be people who are practically like
Star Killer level insane.
Yeah, like for not that anyone watches anime here, but like My Hero Academia, everyone practically in My Hero Academia has superpowers, but not everybody uses their superpowers to be a superhero. Some of them use it to be a baker. Some of them use it to be a firefighter, shit like that.
I hate that. I'm sorry. But like, I would fucking not like that, I think, at all. If it was...
I mean, it's already like that. Han Solo was shown to have some type of force sensitivity through his smuggling days.
Exactly. Like that's the small scale shit. That's fine. But like the second that you're saying that like casually people are gonna be like ripping Star Destroyers out of the sky, I'm like, okay. We need
No,
to
I
go
don't.
back
I don't think that's.
I don't think that's what he's saying. Sam.
That's not what he's saying. I think that like it's more likely that you're going to see a bunch of people doing what Broom Kid did and just using the Force to like sweep their house.
Yeah,
But
the
ones who are actually adept at it are going to be these powerful ones that are like doing shit like that, and but that'll be what is shown on screen. Is what's going to be more visually there.
I'm going to say
80% of the galaxy's population has the Force.
I think a cool dichotomy that would be fun to show later on is that the people who still aren't Force sensitive in a usable way get kind of shunned by society. They get kind of like laughed at, played down upon, and then that's where our new kind of antagonist comes from.
Our new bad guys, yeah.
Where it's a bunch of non-Force sensitive nerds.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of Imperials then again, and then they wipe out a bunch of the Force sensitives. Like, I feel like that's just what we've seen.
Well, yeah, it's like poetry.
It
rhymes.
I don't give a. When he said that was a big fucking oops. Because now
that is Star Wars though. Like Star Wars is constantly going to be cyclical,
yeah,
but I do
like,
think that they have to change things to go forward.
History
the
repeats
complaint
itself.
of like the new sequel trilogy is mostly the fact that why are we doing the Empire stuff again? Why is this all the same as the original trilogy?
But the difference, the people of minority at the time for those were Force sensitive users. We're flipping the script on it, right? And so it's the same story, but it's not the same material. We're not having a fucking Star Destroyer in the comparison to a Death Star. It's not just like, oh, this is Emperor Palpatine, but it's not Emperor Palpatine. We have people who think that they're better, that they're right. A lot of people in the Empire fucking hate the Empire. But if people love them, and we've got these people who are oppressed, and they're like, just because we don't have Force powers, people aren't willing to hire us. People think that we're trash. We live in the slums. We already have people that live in the trash and live in the slums, but there's still Force sensitive people that live in the trash and live in the slums due to one thing or another.
Yeah. I don't know. The future of Star Wars is wild. I'd love to see more of it.
The future is wild.
That was a great documentary.
But I have nothing else to say about The Mandalorian, and my groceries have arrived.
All right, if you need to go grab your groceries,
but now that we said this is probably what's going to happen, it's not going to happen because Disney fucking dumb that
they
way.
listen to our show specifically and are like, "Don't do that."
Yep.
They're like, "Oh, that's a really good idea. Delete it. We don't.
You know what we should do? We should have a Grogu Skywalker.
Fuck off, man.
That's the way.
Happen.
All right, I gotta go get my groceries. McClunky,
Richard, bye. All right, we're gonna raid into Kaz the DM. Who is that guy? I don't know.
He's just some weirdo,
He's just
man.
some loser.
Should I explain who I am to these people?
Yeah,
if
honestly,
they've
I
never
was
seen
gonna
me?
do that at the beginning, and then we kind of just jumped in. Y'all shit on me, and then I didn't introduce Joe.
Okay, I'll make it quick. I'm Colombian Brew Joe. I have my own stream called Discussions at Brunch, and we also do coffee talk. I'm also a musician on Spotify that goes by the name of Daddy Coffee, so check me out.
Nice and clean, nice.
He's
Here
the
you
one
go.
that did the opening music for us now. Thank you so much. It was amazing. We loved it. I was gasming when I saw.
I still have a good chuckle every time we play it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I was told that it was well received. I was really worried that you guys were going to be like, "Oh, yep, that's fun."
That's
I
gross.
couldn't
We're all
listen
using
to
it.
it because I was at work when I got it, and I couldn't open the file. So it was like, oh my god, the hype is killing me. And then when I heard it, like, holy shit.
I love the part.
But in the last like 10 seconds of this, I'll quickly get this out. Tomorrow we are doing The Last of Us Episode 8 discussion and Roro at 6 p.m. It's a big day for us, so come check out our streams.
Oh boy.
And on Saturday we got the Bad Batch discussion at 12 p.m. PST as well, discussing episodes 11 and 12.
McClunky,
And
Bob!
then on Sunday
McClunky.
I got the Throwing Top Sands with Cats who were
Damn,
ready to
McClunky!
episode 9 on Monday.